after every member of your church. But maybe before ministry, that was never your problem. Many leaders, they don't understand this mystery that I'm giving you now. They think more anointing, less sin. Listen to me. The more God anoints you, the more you have to build a hedge around yourself and protect yourself the more. Hello? It's unfortunate that sometimes when you touch sensitive issues that are actually happening to other people, they act as if, now they're out of time, or maybe you're saying, this is, You know now that after you became a leader, you are now struggling with issues that you were never struggling with before. Why? Because every measure of glory that comes to you, there is a keto, there is flesh. So the ark of God, when it comes to you, now I'm talking about sacrifices. Okay? Not sanctions, sacrifices. So when the anointing brings money to you, you should become a giver. That's how you sacrifice the flesh that brings the ark into your life. You have to sacrifice. You have to sacrifice the money. You have to. If the anointing brings you females, you have to sacrifice all of them except your wife. If you can't sacrifice those women, those female people coming into your life as a male preacher, and you can't sacrifice, you can't spend an hour without a female person close to you. You need women around you every time. You haven't yet started sacrificing. Watch where you're going. If you keep the kettle, watch. Keep the kettle. Both the kettle and the ark, keep it. You have to sacrifice. You have to become scarce. Where do they find you? That's it. Let them see you, let them dream about you. Yeah, let it end there. Hello? Are you following this, please? Are you following this? Are you sure you're following this? So you have to sacrifice. So that's ministry now. Your wife should look at you every time and know that I'm the only person who knows this man. She has to be proud of that. Make her proud. Make her proud. No, maybe it might not be corrected as of now. But listen, you can still correct it. You can still correct it. That's her dignity. She feels respected if she knows that, they might think about him, but they will never get him. Why? Because he knows how to sacrifice the flesh, the kettle. So what the anointing brings, it's also fame. How do you sacrifice some of it? Fame. When fame is coming, I'm closing now. I know you're enjoying, but let me close. Go home with my wife. Listen to me. How much of the fame are you willing to sacrifice? How much of the fame are you willing to sacrifice? How much? In terms of, people have said a lot about me, right? It's because they don't know me. And most of what they say is because they want me to say something. And I will never say anything. Because they've already said something. They should have waited. If they make their own suggestions, I will say, okay, go by that. Because you said you know me. Ever since we started ministry up to where we are, a person might come on an individual basis and say, man of God, how are you? And so on, and we greet each other. Maybe you might get information from there. An official interview where I sit. I'm not saying I'm never going to be interviewed. Where I sit and say, an interview. That's why they write bad about me, because they've been wanting that opportunity. But I know how to sacrifice fame. Is it about me? What do you want to know about Makandiwa? Every service I'm preaching there. How much of the fame can you sacrifice? How much? If you can't sacrifice it yourself, God will sacrifice it for you. That's what God does. Some of you, do you know that there will come a time, even when God gives you a gift, an anointing, there will come a time when God will ask for it, like he did with Abraham, after being given a son. And God said, okay, can I have that son as a test? Imagine if it gets to that level where God is now asking for the ministry that you have. Can you sacrifice that ministry for me? And you love the ministry more than you love God. Spending time with God is people than with God, the God of the people. Remain connected. Secure yourself. If you think I'm lying to you, go ahead. Look for the anointing. Go to the mountains. God, more power, more power. You'll see. When power is coming, you'll see kettles. After receiving an anointing. And people will start talking about you. Hey, in this ministry, UFIC, there are pastors, but there is this one in particular. And you hear about it. How much of that fame can you sacrifice? And how do you sacrifice it? That's why it's so easy for me to introduce any of you to the pulpit and say, I wouldn't have given him time to preach, but it's because God has given him a word that I don't have for today. And you respect other men of God. If people are going to think it's because he doesn't have a word, then people buy into that. Let them buy. It's because they don't have an understanding. You have to sacrifice. You have to sacrifice. Hello? Hello? Yes. Hello? Yes. How do you sacrifice it? Fame. Finances. How much of it do you give? How do you sacrifice? Female. Raise the dead. After that resurrection, they will come after you. They will text you. That's it. That's it. People, listen to me. People will be so aggressive. Do you know there was a service? Let me tell you one. Do you know there was a service when a woman rose up from the overflow? It was these guys who carried the woman. That one, she openly said, she cried, and all the people that were sitting there, he said, man of God, I love you. Serious love. And they thought maybe, and she was now advancing in the church, not in a secret place, in the church. They had to carry the woman. And she was upon their shoulders, and she was still saying, no. This is a serious matter. This is a serious matter, not like spiritual love. I love this man. After prophesying like I did, yes. They don't care about your anointing. Every anointing that comes upon you, there is a kettle. There is flesh. So imagine opening up an opportunity for such kind of a person for counseling. It's just the two of us. If a person can do that in the overflow, under the tent, where there are screens and the cameras. Open your eyes. Nyawa irire wanawasikana wachikupindura maofisi gare nyapa ngataure zvedu sunungukai handiti munoona hamuna arimo ngatitaure zvedu. Nyawa irire wanawasikana wachikupindura maofisi gare nyapa ngataure zvedu. 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 Ngataure zve My brother, you don't know what you're doing. That's why Peter said, you don't understand what you're dealing with. I said to myself, this is me. This is me. I said to myself, if I'm going to lose women in our ministry because of that, let them go. But how many have you seen leaving? How many? Do you know that one thing, leaders, we have to help our members to go to heaven? If we really want them to go to heaven, we can cause them to backslide. We have that power. Some of the holiest people in your church, you have to help them to remain holy. You can spoil them at any time if you don't know what you're doing. They will only go to heaven because you want them to go to heaven. Help them to go to heaven. Help them to go to heaven. If there is something that I don't like and that I will never entertain, when you are there, you come also into my life like that. You might be doing it before, but when you come into my life and then I'm trying to help you and counsel you and to give you some guidelines and say, please stop this, and you go ahead, you continue spending time with women and you end up sleeping with them. That's a disconnection. I will openly tell you that you were once my friend, not anymore. I will not entertain that. It's a shameful thing. If a man who is expected to have undergone deliverance himself and still enticing members of the church, texting the messages, are you sleeping now? Somebody came to my mind who was showing her some messages from a man of God. Are you sleeping now? What are you wearing? I mean under.
Thank you for watching Minister's Material. Join us again next time for yet another inspirational teaching from Prophet Emmanuel Makandiwa.